is INCRadio DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.
Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everyone, wherever you are right now. Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of INCRadio New York. I'm Sister Abby Hidalgo, your host for today's episode. And with me today, we have Brother Lance, our CFO advisor, Brother J.R. Resurrection, and our lovely guest, Sister Gemma and Brother Cliff Steerba. So, love at first sight, as you saw on our thumbnail, that's what it's called, is a concept that has fascinated people for centuries, and it can be seen in, books, literature, social media, movies, and songs. But is it really real? So, some people say it's an intense emotional connection that feels like love, while others believe it's infatuation driven by physical appearance or chemistry. So on today's show, we will discuss, is love at first sight real? And for those who are tuning in, tell us in the YouTube live chat, what is your take at love at first sight? So before we get into our questions, hello, Sister Gemma and Brother Cliff. How are you all doing today?
Hi, we're good. Excited to dig into the topic. This is going to be a good one. I'm excited.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us. We are very excited about this topic. I think it's very engaging. So love to talk about it.
Yeah, it's a little different. We usually use our two guests for more health topics, but we have to try something different for the month of December. So let's get into it. What is your take? Do you believe in love at first sight? I don't know, Sister Gemma, Brother Cliff, whoever wants to take it first.
Okay, I can. All right. So I think we need to start with what is the definition of love here? Is this because if we can nail it down as to exactly what love is, then I think that we can sort of better answer the question if it's possible to happen instantly. I'm of the opinion that love is not instantaneous and that it is something that is over time, built up over time, and that it's proven through action and not through some fancy movie like an hour and 30 minutes in a movie. Oh, we can prove that, but even then, an hour and 30 minutes is still not instantaneous, right? It still has to happen over time. So if love is something that has to be built up and maintained, then I believe that love at first sight is not something that can happen, because how can you maintain something with somebody that you don't know and you've only seen walking through the door? I don't think it's possible.
I think the term is such an ideal that it's a fantasy, it's one of these things that you love to watch on a movie or something that you like to read, just as like those who like to read fantasy novels, right? It really keeps us entertained. But when you check in your reality, you know what's reality versus what's fantasy. You know what's you get to only see in a movie and how it's going to end. You can kind of already guess, but you know that that's not always the case. It's a nice entertainment kind of idea, right? So I think that's kind of where that phrase, I feel like, have been kind of like what you mentioned, Sister Abby, is in centuries. We're always like enamored by this idea of love at first sight. It sounds great.
So all the movies I watched when I was a teenager are all wrong. They lied to me, essentially.
Well, no. The idea, I don't think that they lied. I think that they just sped up the process, right? I mean, they bumped into each other on lunch break in the hallway and they dropped their books and then their hands touched. You're seeing someone that you find has a lot of features that you probably enjoy as a person. But even in the movie, it takes time to learn how to love a person, and there's ups and downs in a relationship. Yes, it happens over the.
But I think it's the idea of something has to sparkle, something has to have a chemistry to get you interested.
Yeah,
There's nothing
sure.
that it's gonna interest you.
Sure, a foot in the door.
Foot in
Yeah,
the
there's
door,
got to be a
then you're not
common.
gonna enter the door, right?
Right. There has to be a common thing that people they find they're doing something together and they enjoy it and there's good chemistry. But that's not the love at first sight, right? Because you
Yeah.
have to. We're talking. You don't know the person, and you're saying, "I love this person, and I'm willing to make all the sacrifices in my life to." I feel like that's a
But
little.
you did say to me, what a
That's
clip that
over
you,
time.
you did like me, or did you love me at first sight?
Oh no, this is a question. I think.
Oh, you're in the hot seat, Brother Cliff.
No, we had we worked together. We actually had to build it up over time. Initially, it was a very challenging kind of relationship, and it had to
But
be
it was
built up.
there was an initial attraction.
There
So
was
it
an
like,
initial attraction.
So, but I don't think you would say it was a love at first sight.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No, it had to be built up over time.
So if I can jump in, I think for our viewers, it's really important to know that if there is like an initial feeling, right? If I can ask Brother Cliff, if there is an initial feeling of, wow, I really like this person, I really enjoy having this person around, can you call it love at first sight or like a spark at first sight?
I am a-okay with calling it anything but love. You can call it attraction, sparkle, chemistry. There was no red flag. You could say that. I'm fine with that. But love is something that is proven through actions over time. It's not it's not that initial. What do they say? The heart is fast, but love is slow. It's got.
And you can't think with your heart, right? That's why you love with your heart and you think or you love. What's that say?
Love with your heart, think with your mind, or think with your brain, right? You got to temper it. They have to work each other out. But I don't think the true everlasting love, the real true genuine definition of love, can be achieved on an initial encounter with somebody within that first second or two.
Yeah. And I actually love how Brother Cliff started with asking the question, well, what is love? So that we can find out, does love exist? Because if I can, if you actually open the Bible, in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, the Bible describes love to be something that is patient, something that is kind. But in verse 7 of chapter 13, it also says that love is enduring. It endures all things. So given that, love is something that has to be proven over time. It has to last. It has to be able to withstand the test of trials and tests and everything that life has to throw at you. And that's very, very, very hard to prove at first sight.
I mean, it sounds really nice, and don't get me wrong. I believe that there are people in the world who maybe have experienced this, love at first sight. But if they are still with the person that they've seen initially, love at first sight, they still had to work and develop it and come to the conclusion that this is truly the person, because I don't think anyone is perfect, and you're going to encounter all kinds of ups and downs. And if the moment that you as a couple will approach something that is difficult or challenging, and you have to make choices that are challenging, and you have to maybe sacrifice your comfort for somebody else or your freedoms for somebody else, that I think is love. Once you've decided to put the other person before your comforts, that's true and genuine love.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it can begin at an initial encounter, but I don't think that you can show it until you've encountered the issues that you have to battle through together. Love is a battlefield. That's another fun one, right?
And
All right.
sometimes, when we have like the initial um feelings, right? You have all these what we call the butterflies in your stomach when you
Mm.
see someone. But all those, I mean, do they stay? Like a lot of our decision were so emotionally. We're creatures of making decision based on our emotions as well, and those sometimes may not last, and that's why you have to have some strong basis of foundation that will keep you going for why would you stay in love with someone that you want to stay in love with. It's also part of it is a decision that you have to commit yourself into. If you're just going to base that relationship or future relationship with just emotions, it may fade away, and then you give up and it doesn't work out, and then what is still love at first sight, right? So it's kind of like what KJR said, it's and what a Cliff have said, it's test of time. It really does test of time.
You mentioned butterflies in the stomach. There was a comment from Sister Jem D. Butterflies in the stomach at first sight. So, what made you think you were experiencing the quote "love at first sight"? Is it really just the butterflies? Like, what are the butterflies in your stomach when you see a
You
person?
want to talk about it chemically?
Okay, all right.
The mental, like
I
how much.
remember, I remember meeting Sister Gemma for the first time. It was at we were doing choir practice in the church in Bristol, and it was at the golf, the place over there. We were sharing. We were still combining services for that, and I saw her in the doorway. I remember seeing her very much, and I remember everyone talking. Oh, there's this, there's this new girl, and she's really cute and everything like that. And so it's kind of colored my imagination of what she'd be like. And then I saw her, and I was like, yeah, she's pretty cute. I remember your initial reaction to me was, this dude has a pencil in his ear. Oh man, that's weird. I remember you said that. That was the initial. Was there an attraction? Sure, yes. But was there something as deep and as rich and as complex as love? I don't know, not yet. I can't say that yet. Because love is hard to say that you love somebody without a challenge first, right?
Mhm.
Like Brother Jay, it's proven over. It has to endure. Endure means that there is something that you're fighting uphill. You're in a battle. There's something
Yeah.
challenging, right? That you have to work past.
Yeah.
That proves love.
Yeah.
Having an argument and then making up later on and staying together, that's love. Seeing her in the doorway the first time, that's definitely attraction. Was there butterflies? Maybe. But I don't know if it's love.
I think it's just more
though.
like the excitement.
It's exciting. It's someone
the
new.
excitement.
It's
There's
an
the butterfly because
experience.
excitement,
Yes.
and then the unknown because you're getting to know the person, right? That's why when you met someone, you see them at your first Kadiwa meeting, and you're like, oh,
Wow.
and then you can't wait to see them again on the next Kadiwa activity, and so because it's the excitement of something unknown. It's exciting. It's giving that curiosity. It's the same thing when you have excitement about food. When you're like trying
Ooh,
something new
I
and
can't wait to have that lumpia again. Oh, can't wait. I mean, I do believe it can happen. Like I said, when I saw my daughter on the ultrasound for the first time, I knew for sure it's love at first sight. But that's different from actual romantic building a relationship kind of love, right? It's different. But yeah, that's kind of where I stand. Yeah.
There was a comment by brother Phil. I believe in love in first sight when you pray to God and then you meet someone and you still with them for over 30 years. What, I guess, KJR or the Steerbuzz, what are your thoughts on that comment?
Well, I think it can go back to our initial conversation that we had earlier. We're not going to ever deny anybody that there are intense feelings in the beginning. And maybe love in other definitions can be one of those feelings. But what we're talking about is enduring love and everlasting love. And so that situation where those feelings were maintained throughout the 30 years or whatever years, it's just a simple fact that they were able to maintain it and they were able to prove it. love at the end of the day still is something that you have to prove, that you have to endure. And so what they have, I believe, is something that they were just simply able to prove over time, which is what love really is. So is it impossible per se? I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it is going to remain something that we have to be able to hold on to and maintain, as the stir brothers, brother Cliff and sister Gemma have been saying to us.
And I want to add that, yes, I think it's very important when we pray about that someone that you want to have. You pray and ask, like for us, by experience, I can speak, where you ask God for guidance, right? You ask
Mhm.
for perhaps the qualities that you're looking for someone that you would want to meet, to be your companion. You want someone that will make you even, I mean, we talk about now hindsight, right? We didn't know this in the beginning, but when we were talking about it, like, oh, what were your prayers? Or what was your prayers? And they were so aligned now. Like, if we go back in that time, like I was praying that, oh, I wanted him to be more a strong officer. I want someone who will be, at that one point, I have a specific, like, CWS teacher. I has to be a CWS teacher. And hindsight now, I'm like, oh, I mean, did that maybe God heard my prayers, answered them, but I didn't know it back then. It's now hindsight looking now that, he blessed me with someone that I knew he was going to help me stay stronger. If we always talk about, like, we want someone that will push us in our faith, like will make us even stronger. I want someone who's stronger faith than I am, because I know for sure I will have moments of weakness, and that person, that spouse, companion of mine, will always going to be the one that will help me lift up and not bring me down faith-wise.
Yeah, someone that recognized the importance of going to church, because I had to make the decision at one point that I was going to stay in church and do all and be part of it. And then whoever I was supposed to be with, my prayer was basically that person has to help make me better in my faith, and to be the person that I can depend on when I need help. Someone that I had a really long prayer about it. I think I was in a parking lot. I was going to be jogging. It was when I was in my undergrad. Even I always pray before I jog, and and then I was in the parking lot for 30 minutes, and someone actually approached me and asked me if I was okay, because I was praying for 30 minutes. But I had this huge list of stuff and all of these things, and then over time I found out that Sister Gemma here is the one that fulfills all of those things. But that was found over time. I may have met her, but I didn't know all those things initially. How could I, But she checked all of the boxes, and I was pretty specific about what I was asking for in that prayer. So, it has to be proven over time. But to say that love is something that is at first sight, I feel kind of makes it too easy. Like love is an easy thing to attain. I think love is not easy. I think it's challenging. I think it's very difficult. And to get to it is, if you don't feel that way with the person that you're with, as for those who are possibly dating right now, for those, if you don't feel that way, that feeling can mature and come into fruition, later on too. It's just a matter of working through it and finding commonalities and things like that. I think that's kind of how it is. That's what love is. Love is definitely a challenge.
Okay, next question. How would you know if the intense feelings you have for someone new are just a distraction or something deeper?
Huh. That's a tough one. If you can, if it's something deeper, maybe if you want to pursue it, I don't think you could know right away. I think maybe you could look back 10, 15, 20 years after the fact that you met the person. And if you're with that person, maybe it is. I think it's proven after a long period of time.
I think that those emotions need to go through a test of time.
They have to be tested first.
Yeah. If you're still, attracted in love, or let's say you still have strong emotions after seeing their other side, because everybody is going to put on their best front right. It's you, they want to, especially when you initially meeting somebody, you may not show the other side, our weaknesses, because we're not perfect, that we do all have some weaknesses, and we may not even show those just yet in the beginning until you get comfortable with that person. And then if you still feel attracted, you still enjoy, love them, even though they have iniquities and differences, is not what you were hoping seeing, and but you work with it. That's how you test over time the love, if that's really proven love or attraction. I think it just builds up over time. I think it's definitely a development process.
It's a foot in the door. Love at first sight, I think, isn't the true. I think when we say it, in society, I think it's not the true, genuine love. I think it's more of a foot in the door. Let's try something. Let's risk it. See how it pans out. And if we're still together, years and years, decades later, who knows how many, then that I think you can say at that point, that's love. But yeah, it's a good foot in the door saying, but I don't think it means true, genuine, proven love to say love at
So
first sight.
Borderlands' question, like, how do you know if it's a strong attraction? If you keep going, if you keep going and you still want to get to know this person, that's a strong attraction. There's something that attracting you, is a strong enough emotions that you want to continue getting to know the person, because it's a process of getting to know the person.
Maybe
right?
you had a really good breakfast. Maybe the coffee was really good when you saw it, and they happened to walk through the door right when that coffee caffeine hit was hitting you and the sugar high, and you're like, wow, what an awesome But maybe you didn't have good breakfast, right? And
You're just hungry.
And you're just hungry. Maybe that's the feeling. Some people are like, that's my butterflies. I was hungry and I asked her out to go eat, and we had a good, so I mean, I think it's an attraction phrase. That's the initial, but I don't think it's true, genuine love at first sight.
Yeah, and if I can just jump in really quickly, since it seems like we're wrapping up. I heard Brother Cliff mention something that honestly I think a lot of viewers have to pay attention to, especially viewers that are maybe of the age to start looking for that other half. He mentioned that entertaining the idea of love at first sight is a risk. You know, when you love somebody, you have to remember that you're giving yourself and you're giving a very sensitive part of yourself to a person. And it's really hard to know who that person is, again, at first sight. And so for those that are online, for those that are looking for the one, if I can say something, don't rush. Don't jump into something just because of how you're feeling. Just don't jump into something just because you had good coffee in the morning and you're feeling good and confident about yourself. I think one way to sum this up is the Bible does say in the book of Proverbs 19:14 that a good spouse, they do come from God. And so we just have to trust that God will give us that person. And that's not something that has to be rushed. God's timing is always going to be the best timing. We just have to make sure that we love them for who they are. They love us for who we are. And then they help us to be a better person, as the Bible does teach us should be. So I learned a lot from the Sturpas, and honestly, as much as I want to be super killig at all of these moments, I think what's more quote unquote killig or heart tugs at our hearts the most is that love really is something that endures the test of time. So thank you so very much to the Sturpas and to Brother Lance and Sister Abby for having us on for this.
Yes, thank you. I know we were really getting into this topic, but for the month of December, it kind of revolves about this theme about love. So tune in for the rest of the month every Saturday. We'll talk about our next topic will be top qualities to look for in a partner, and then tips on finding the right person. And last but not least, am I ready for love? So again, tune in every week during our show so that you can kind of grow with us with this topic of love. Brother Lance, any activities that we would like to promote?
Yes, we have a couple activities this coming weekend. There's Unity Games Esports Edition this coming Saturday and Sunday. Correct? December 8th and December 7th. On December 8th, it will be at 6 p.m. in Forest Hills, and today, December 7th, at 5 p.m. in Bristol. So for all those who are in the respective areas, please do attend the Esports Edition because there is various video games that will be played, and there's also other board games I think that will be included. So it'll be nice to get to know one another, and maybe you might feel the deeper attraction here. so, so for attendees, maybe this is your chance to meet the others. Quote unquote, maybe not love at first sight, but you know. Apart from that, there is chapel beautification happening throughout the different parts of the district. So, for all the brethren, if you can, they are cleaning and they're making beautification to the chapel. Even though it's cold, they're able to do their part in terms of this. Apart from that, that's pretty much what's happening in our activities this December. It is pretty short month, and it's quite cold this month. But we have more greetings and shout out, Sister Abby.
Yes, there was a lot of comments from the bookloads or those who are married saying that activities, church activities, are a good way to find people or brethren that you mesh well with, and maybe if it's God's plan, your other half. But we'll talk about our hashtag winners for this last week's show. For the locals, number 3 is the local Belmore. Number 2, Johnsonville Extension. And number 1 is Forest Hills. And our top hashtaggers, number 3 is Brother Philip Souther. Number 2 is Sister Marty Borat. And number 1 is Sister Liberty Sabino. We had a lot of comments in the chat, and we wish we could read them all, but we enjoyed this topic. Thank you to the Steer Buzz for your insight, and also to KJR. But that's all for our show today. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for the church administration for giving us a platform like this to share and speak about important and interesting topics like these. Don't forget to catch us again next Saturday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, or Sunday at 12:30 a.m. Philippine Time.
And greetings to our beloved Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo B. Manalo, and to our Christian Family Organization Coordinator and Subsidy President, Brother Angelo Irania Manalo, and especially to our District Minister, Brother Sheridan Santos, to our Assistant District Minister, Brother Neil Patrick Omeda, and to our CFO Advisor, Brother J.R. Resurrection. And this brings us to the end of our show today. Have a good day, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone.